Okay, so hi everyone and welcome to my session. I'm Raluca, as Tim already mentioned. I'm working as site reliability engineer at Systematic. And today I want to talk about something that can start, let's say, as a networking solution, but it can easily become a real production engineering problem. By the end of this talk, you will learn not only what Istio does, but also how to operate it safely in production. So we will start with the problem, why communication between microservices becomes harder than it looks as the system grows. Then we will look at what Istio is and how it works under the hood. After that, we will follow a single request through the mesh end-to-end and see what exactly happens at each step. Then we will look at what Istio can do, and more importantly, what can go wrong if we enable it without discipline. And we will close it with the SRE perspective on how to adapt Istio gradually and safely in the production. Okay, most of us, I think, have been here, right? So you start with a few services, then a few more, and then at some point, your architecture diagram starts looking quite like this. What could go wrong here? Well, let's say we don't have timeout configured. So what happens when your authentication service, for example, is low? Every request that hits the API gateway just stacks up. So it waits and waits, your gateway freezes, users see nothing, and the worst part is that, well, everything looks quite fine on the surface until it completely doesn't. Encrypted. Are we even sure that we have the traffic encrypted? I mean, are you sure about this, or you're just assuming that the network is safe just because it's an internal cluster? Retry loop. Well, when a service fails, it retries, and the other service retries back, and suddenly you can end up in having a retry storm. And what can cause this? Well, you can put an entire database on its knees if we don't actually control the retries when they are set. Who's failing? Let's say when notification stops responding, does the payment service, for example, know? Or does the order service know? Does anyone else know before user starts complaining about this? And where did it go? Well, let's say we know for sure a request left our service, but did it arrive? What can we do at this point? We start checking the logs and check mores, and we are not even sure if the request reaches the required service. Well, this is what happens as system grows. So communication becomes harder to control, harder to secure, and harder to observe. And the scary thing is that none of these are application bugs. So this is all on the networking side, and it's basically an infrastructure problem. So you can end up having problems that live between your services. Well, that's where Istio comes in. So as our system scales, something starts to break down. Not the services themselves, but the communication between them. And we lose control of traffic. We can consistently ensure security across every service. And we have no unified view of what's really happening inside of our cluster. These are three problems that get worse every time you are adding a new service. And Istio was built to solve exactly these three things. And the beauty of it is that it does this at the infrastructure level. So your application teams, they don't have to change a single line of code to get all of this together. Let's see on the traffic side. So Istio gives you full control on how requests flow between your services. It offers you retries when the call fail, timeouts, so nothing waits forever in your network, canary deployments for a safer rollout, and all these are defined once and are applied everywhere. On the security side, Istio handles the identity and the access between your services. So every call is encrypted with mutual TLS, and you have also authorization rules that defines exactly who can talk to whom. And on the observability side, Istio gives you full visibility to what's happening across your service mesh. So you have metrics, you have distributed traces, you have live service graphs, and all are automatically generated by Istio. So there is no need to import libraries or prepare something in advance. All of these are available because the proxy sees the traffic and records everything what happens with it. And the mechanism that powers all of this, well, it's the Envoy proxy. It's a small proxy injected as a sidecar next to your service. And basically, all the traffic is transparently intercepted by the proxy, and your application doesn't know it's there. So it's nothing changed in your code. Okay, now, how does that actually, the proxy actually get there? Let me show you what happens under the hood. Istio has two layers, the control plane up here and the data plane down here. These are two completely different layers with different responsibilities, and they never overlap. The brain of the control plane is the IstioD. This one handles the configuration, the certificates, the security policies, and it registers itself as a mutating admission webhook with the Kubernetes API. So let's see now. Let's consider that the API server receives a manifest to deploy a pod in a namespace. It's just a standard manifest, nothing special. At this point, even though we have Istio installed in our cluster, it does nothing. And why is that? Well, because nobody told it to do something with it. It's just watching and doing nothing. How can we enable Istio to do something? Well, we can label our namespace with an injection, Istio injection enabled, and in this way we can tell Istio, okay, you have to watch everything what happens with this namespace here. Well, so we have only one label, and it's kind of a switch. Now, when Kubernetes API receives a manifest to deploy a pod in a specific namespace, before scheduling it, Istio sends, Kubernetes API sends this webhook to the IstioD through the webhook, asking, hey, do you have something to add here to this manifest? Is there something you would like to add in order to have this pod part of the mesh? And Istio does. Istio starts adding init containers, Envoy proxies, volumes, environment variables, and the beauty is that your application code never changes. So basically, Istio is just adding everything on top of your manifest file in order to have the pod part of the mesh. And now, once the manifest is ready, the manifest is sent back to the API server, and then the pod is deployed in the network. And what do we have here? We can see that now we have two containers. So instead of one, we have the main application, which was the default when the manifest was received, and then we have the sidecar. And the sidecar, as we can see here, it was automatically added without a manual intervention. And now, for every pod that we have deployed it in this namespace, they are basically communicating now through the Envoy sidecar. So we have a mutual TLS assured, and the traffic is encrypted. And this happens to everything inside of your namespace that has the Istio injection enabled. Now let's follow a single request, let's say, through the mesh and see exactly what the proxy does with it. Let's consider we have service A who wants to communicate with service B. From the application perspective, this is just a normal call. So let's see if it's like this or not. First, the request is intercepted, and it never reaches the service B from the beginning. So the Envoy sidecar is the one that intercepts it first, and your application is basically making a call, and it has no idea that there's a proxy in between. So this is something intentional, because the mesh should be completely transparent to your code. Before anything else happens, identity is verified. So when two proxy connect, they start to do the MTLS handshakes, and then the proxy checks if the caller, for example, is who they claim to be. And it doesn't take this as something sure. It starts to check the certificates, and it does this on both sides. So once both sides are authenticated each other, then it comes the second check, which is the policy. And what is this policy doing? Well, it's checking if the call is actually allowed to be in your network. So let's say you might have some rules saying that, okay, service A can talk to service B, but they can do it only on a specific route. Or, I don't know, maybe they are allowed only with specific methods. If the call doesn't match that rule, it will not go further. It will be rejected, and everything stops here. Once the identity and the policies are checked, routing is applied. So maybe you are running, let's say, a Canary deployment, and you want to have 10% of your traffic going through version 2, and let's say 90% of the traffic, you still want to have it on version 1. Well, the proxy is the one that does the split transparently to your call, and all of this happens also having an eye on what happens exactly in your network. So every request is observed, it is checked if it has errors, the latency is checked, and everything is recorded automatically. So only after all these checks, your request will end up in service B, and then it sends further to the application who can fulfill the request. So as you can see here, we have now 0 changes in your application. So every request goes through this process, and there's no exception when you have Istio enabled. Now let's see exactly what Istio can actually do. Let's start with the traffic. On the traffic side, we have retries. What are the retries? Well, if a call fails, the proxy automatically tries again without your application knowing it. Then we have the timeouts. So a slow service never freezes and in waiting for a response. We have the circuit breaking. So if a service starts fail, Istio stops sending traffic to it before spreading the failure. And then we have the Canary deployments. So you can send a percentage of the real traffic to a new version, watch if the version is okay, and how it behaves, and roll back instantly in case something is not okay with it. On the security, we have the mutual TLS. So every service-to-service call is encrypted, and both sides are verified every time you have or you receive a request in your cluster. So you don't just encrypt traffic, you also know exactly who talked to whom. On the authorization policies, you can define exactly who can call what. Let's say you will say that a service A can reach a service B, but it's not allowed to talk to the service C. And the peer authentication, which control how strictly you will want to have the identity enforced, if you want to have it per namespace or per workload. On the observability side, we have metrics per route, so you can see the latency, the error rates for every single communication that's happening in your cluster. We have distributed tracing, so you can follow one request and see exactly how much time it spends in each point. And we have a live service graph, which is kind of a map, a real-time map, where you know exactly what's talking to what and how healthy the connection is. Sounds great, right? Then what's the catch with all of this? Okay? So we have to pay attention to something. Enable a feature and understanding in the production are two completely different things. And now let's see some examples. Let's say we have retries. Teams usually enables this at first, and at first they seem harmless. So a request fails, the proxy retries automatically, and maybe the second attempt works fine. But retries increase traffic exactly when a service is already struggling. So imagine, let's say, I don't know, a downtime service that becomes slow. Requests are starting to time out, and now every caller retries automatically in order to fulfill the request. One request now becomes 2, then 3, and very quickly the failing services receive even more traffic than it was before. And it gets much worse when there is also no circuit breaking configured around those retries. So what does it mean? Well, nothing tells the mesh that, hey, this instance is unhealthy, so stop sending traffic to it. So there's no outlier detection defined in the destination rule. And that's how, instead of containing, let's say, the failure, the mesh starts amplifying it. So as you can see here, a small degradation turns into, let's say, a cascading failure. You don't have to think about retries that are bad. They are not bad. We just need to pay attention on how to configure them. So the most important thing is to find the combo package, I would say, in order to enable them safely in production. Let's take another example, the fault injection. This is a great example. In staging, this is incredibly useful. So you can intentionally inject latency or errors to test the resilience of your application. But the problem is that Istio doesn't know whether your config is a real one or if it's an error. So if you, let's say, let a fault injection by mistake in production, the mesh will happily inject those failures into the real traffic. And from the application perspective, basically it looks like a normal outage. The MTLS. The MTLS strict mode. A lot of teams want to enable the MTLS from the beginning. And it kind of makes sense because we know that having the MTLS, all the traffic is encrypted, we have every identity verified, and we can secure the entire workload. But in reality, not every service in the mesh is available from day one. So maybe one service still doesn't have, let's say, a sidecar, or maybe there's a legacy workload that can't be modified. So if the connection isn't part of the mesh, it gets rejected. And what makes this particularly, let's say, painful is the fact that the failure happens at the proxy level. So your application often has no idea why the requests are suddenly failing. So remember that we have the permissive mode, the default for a reason in Istio, and do not try or rush to switch it to the strict. My recommendation would be to do it namespace by namespace or workload by workload. The authorization policies. Well, by default, Istio allows everything in your mesh. But the recommended approach is to set a deny all policy and then explicitly allow only what you want to have in your cluster. And this is basically the least privilege in security. So let's see where this can get tricky, let's say. In shared clusters, for example, let's say we have a team A who wants to create their allowed policies, and team B, let's say they created their own. Both looked correct in isolation, but nobody looks at the full picture. So nobody checks all the policies and what they do together in order to have the proper analysis before creating their own rules. And since Istio evaluates first the deny and then the allow rules, one team's policy can silently block another team's traffic. So the request never reaches the application, the log looks normal, I would say, and both teams, they are convinced that their configuration is the correct one. So that's why before you create or modify, let's say, an authorization policy, always check what's already there in the workload and try to understand what each policy does. And none of these, what we talked till now, are Istio bugs. They are just adoption mistakes. So the tool is not the problem, but the problem is the approach and how can we approach it safely in production. Okay, we've seen what Istio can do. We've seen that what happens when you enable it without discipline. So let's go through together some approaches that we should consider in production. Phase one, the observability. Start here. We have low risk here, no dangerous combination, metrics are distributed everywhere, we have traces, we can make use of the service graphs, and try to enable all of this from day one, because without visibility into how your services communicate, you are making changes blindly. And you don't know your baseline, so you can tell if something improved by applying something or it got worse. So always observability first, and this is not a feature, I would say this is the foundation for everything in your cluster. Then phase two, when it comes to the control, traffic control, well, you first have to understand your traffic patterns that you have in the cluster based on the observability that was enabled before. And always make sure that when you are configuring something, for example, retries, but also with the circuit breaking, timeouts with consistent values, let's say, across the services, canary deployments in order to reduce the risk, just do it one capability at a time. And it's not because Istio cannot handle them, it can, but because you need to understand the effect of each change before you adding a new one. Because if you enable all of them, let's say, and something breaks, you don't know which one caused the error. And the phase three, the security, which is the most important one and critical, you can't enforce security policies on traffic you don't understand yet. So the MTLS set on permissive mode is the default there for a reason. Don't rush to change it to strict mode. Just check first what you have in your cluster, start it gradually, do it namespace by namespace, and in this way you can have a controlled manner in your cluster. And across all these three phases, these are, let's say, the principles that keeps you out of trouble, I would say. The observability first, always start with this one. One change at a time. So when something breaks, you will know exactly what caused that problem. Understand before enable. So every virtual service, every destination rule, or every authorization policy, you need to know exactly what it does before applying it. And own your own policies. So every config needs to have kind of a clear owner. If you have to modify something which is cluster-wide, just double check what you have there before applying the change. And Istio will do exactly what you will tell it to do. So make sure that you understand what you are asking it to do it. And always start with the observability first. Now, let me leave you with 5 things. Kubernetes orchestrates the workloads, Istio manages the communication. They solve different problems at different layers, so you don't choose between them, you use both. The sidecar proxy is the mesh. So Envoy sits next to your service, intercepts every request, handles everything, the identity, the policy, the routing, the metrics, so your application never changes. Observability first, even though here is the third one. Always before enable it before configure a single retry or a single change in your mesh. And let's say that powerful tools without a discipline can become production incidents. So we saw some examples today when we ended up in retry storms, silent MTLS failures, fault injection, authorization policies that were conflicting between teams, and none of those were Istio bugs. All of them were just adoption mistakes. So start small, understand first, and grow deliberately. That was my presentation. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Raluca. I think a perfect talk after the keynote as well. Explains thoroughly why service meshes are extremely important. No, you did great. Professional. We have 2 minutes maybe for 1 or 2 questions. Hand straight up.
I have a question about circuit breaking. How it exactly works? How can I ensure that when I bring back the service to life, it will be automatically work again? The circuit breaking won't be interfering with the restore time back to normal time.
The circuit breaking is configured at the destination rules level, and you are just making sure that you are specifying in case something continuously failing in your cluster, don't try more. So just stop here because it's something wrong in our cluster. And that's why we always need to enable this when, for example, when we have the retries. And you can do this by using the outlier detection. So you can specify there, okay, you are allowed to receive, I don't know how many failures, but at some point this must stop because the service is not healthy. So we cannot continue like this.
Okay, we've run out of time. I know there are a few more questions, but you're hanging around, and I'm sure Raluca will be more than happy to grab a chat, coffee at the same time, and feel free to reach out. Once again, a big round of applause for Raluca.